Kentucky Fried Chicken, an American fast food icon. You can't get much more American than fried chicken, biscuits, mashed potatoes, and gravy. And you might think you can't get much more Kentucky than Harland Sanders, the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken. But you would be mistaken. What if I were to tell you that he was born and grew up in Indiana and was a Hoosier through and through? Believe it or not, it's true. And the story behind his early life in Indiana tells how a little boy of humble means developed into a man that built a worldwide fast food empire. Harland David Sanders was born September 9th, 1890 at Henryville, Indiana. In fact, there's a sign just off Highway 65 on the right side of the road to commemorate where it all began. The likeness of Colonel Sanders is well worn. People have presumably touched it for good luck, much like the nose of Abraham Lincoln's statue in Illinois. It is definitely a place to get your picture taken. Harland was the oldest of 3 kids, with 2 God-fearing Christian parents that taught him the value of hard work at an early age, and he would need that lesson for life. His father died when he was only 5, and his mother had to take a job at a tomato cannery, leaving the 3 young children alone all day. Incredibly, by just 7 years old, Harland had become quite a cook for himself, his brother Wilbur, and sister Margaret. By 10 years old, Harland was already working at Henryville as a farmhand, but he was far from being done with cooking. In fact, it was a lifelong obsession. After his mother remarried in 1902, the family moved to Greenwood, Indiana, but Harland was headstrong and stubborn and didn't get along with his stepdad at all. Harland had been the man of the family since he was only 5 years old. He didn't want to be in the same house with his stepdad, giving orders. Harland dropped out of 7th grade and went to live and work on a nearby farm. It was his time to be a man at only 12 years old. Harland had a certain wanderlust and didn't stay anywhere for very long. At 13 years old, young Harland moved to Indianapolis, where he got a job painting horse carriages. At 14, he moved back to southern Indiana to be a farmhand once again. And at 15, he moved to New Albany, Indiana, and stayed with his uncle to work as a streetcar conductor. But even that was short-lived. Harland wanted to see the world outside of Indiana, and he got his chance in a big way. At 16 years old, Harland Sanders lied about his age and joined the army, serving in Cuba 4 months, driving horse-drawn wagons. After he was discharged from his short stint in the army, he went to live with his uncle in Sheffield, Alabama, where he briefly worked as a blacksmith helper for the Southern Railway. Just 2 months later, he moved on to Jasper, Alabama, cleaning the ash pans of old steam engine trains for the Northern Alabama Railroad, and then became the person that stoked the engine itself, known as a fireman. The excitement of a loud engine and large equipment seemed to appeal to Harland, and it ended up being something he stayed with longer than others. He worked there for 3 years, until he lost his job for insubordination. Moving on to work for yet another railroad in 1909, the Norfolk and Western Railway, Harland met Josephine King. They shortly married thereafter and had 3 children. Harland then went to work in Jackson, Tennessee for the Illinois Railroad. He also studied law at night while raising a family. Things seemed to finally be going in Harland's favor, but as a theme in his life, whenever things seemed certain, they went drastically wrong. Harland lost his job with the railroad by getting into a fight with a coworker. There were just some people he did not get along with, and this posed a lifelong problem. Josephine and the kids had to move in with her parents. Harland got a job with the Rock Island Railroad and tried to get his life back on track. After a long struggle, Harland finally completed his law studies. He became a lawyer in Little Rock, Arkansas. However, he got into a fight with his own client in the courtroom, and it ended his career as a lawyer. Harland and his family moved back to his hometown of Henryville, Indiana, defeated. To make ends meet, he took on a manual labor job with the Pennsylvania Railroad, but this was only a temporary setback. He then moved the family to Jeffersonville, where he worked for the Prudential Life Insurance Company, but his temper again got him in trouble, and he was fired. He then moved the family across the Ohio River to Louisville, Kentucky, where he worked as a salesman for the Mutual Benefit Life Insurance Company of New Jersey. He made enough money to save a little, and he used it to start a business. He created a ferry boat company that went between Jeffersonville and Louisville. It was an immediate success, and it got him to thinking about way bigger things. In 1922, he took a job as Secretary of the Chamber of Commerce in Columbus, Indiana. However, he found he just wasn't good at it and resigned in only a year. It would be the last job he ever had in Indiana. If there's one thing to admire about Harland Sanders, it's that he never lost his hard-working Hoosier roots, and he didn't give up despite many future failures. He sold his share in the Louisville ferry business, only to lose it when he invested in an acetylene lamp business that failed. In 1924, he moved to Kentucky to work as a salesman for the Michelin Tire Company. However, the company closed. That same year, he met with the president of Standard Oil, whom offered him a gas station to operate in Nicholasville, Kentucky. But by 1930, the Great Depression came along, and it too went out of business. Yet that same year, he was offered another chance at running a gas station at North Corbun, Kentucky, and it was the start of something big. He began serving up his recipe of country ham and steaks, built up a restaurant, and then a small motel. But unbelievably, the motel burned down in 1939. When he rebuilt the motel, he added a 140-seat restaurant, making it a major tourist stop. In the center of the dining room, he had a simple bedroom, so the lady of the family could decide if it was a good place to stay the night. It was around this time that he created a unique fried chicken recipe, one that cooked much more quickly by using a pressure cooker. It was a huge hit. skipping ahead of many other financial and marital difficulties, including a divorce and remarriage to Claudia Price. He eventually started franchising the chicken batter and pressure cooking method in 1952. But by the time he was 65, his fortunes again took a complete reversal. Interstate 75 was completed, and traffic bypassed the restaurant. It killed the tourist traffic that made him successful. He ended up selling the restaurant. After a life of hard work, he was left with a Social Security check of $105 a month and whatever he had in savings. He decided to take his secret recipe chicken on the road. He lived and slept in his car in his mid-60s. He demonstrated his pressure-cooked chicken recipe to any restaurant that would let him into their kitchen. The hard work paid off big time. Just 8 years later, by the time Harland was 73 years old, there were over 600 Kentucky Fried Chicken franchises. In 1964, he sold Kentucky Fried Chicken for $2 million, which is nearly $17 million in today's money. He was also hired as a company spokesperson and paid handsomely to travel over 200,000 miles a year. One Hoosier boy, despite his character flaws, finally did all right. Harland David Sanders died of leukemia, December 16, 1980. He was 90 years old. His body was laid to rest at Cave Hill Cemetery in Louisville, Kentucky. He was a hard worker until the very end, making a public appearance in his iconic white suit just a month earlier. His lifetime achievements earned him the honorary title of Kentucky Colonel, and when he died, he was laid in state at the state capitol rotunda at Frankfort, Kentucky. But while he made his fortune in Kentucky, he was born a true Hoosier and stayed one his entire life. He always worked hard. He never gave up, even when things seemed absolutely hopeless. He endured failure after failure. He started a brand new business when he was 65 years old, when most people his age were retired. But he would not accept poverty without a fight. And for his determination, he ended up a millionaire and living a life few people could ever dream of. He achieved worldwide fame and fortune for a kid born at Henryville, Indiana, a small town along Highway 65. And decades after he passed away, people still recognize his face, proving to everyone that no matter who you are, how humble you started, or where it looks you'll always be, taking that next brave chance may be the best thing you ever did.